Hi there. Good morning from here. This is Queen Esther. Welcome to my channel once again. Um, in today's video, we want to consider what diplomacy is. I know you've been hearing the name diplomacy, diplomacy, diplomacy everywhere. So why not do it in a diplomatic way? When you hear this name, what really comes into your mind? And before we consider this, diplomacy is very wide. So we are going to consider step by step from its definition from different angles, how different people view diplomacy, and even in the world of international relations itself that really makes use of this in the relationship between countries and in the United Nations. So we are going to talk about it one after the other in subsequent videos for today. So let's just look at the intro of diplomacy. Okay guys, when this name diplomacy is mentioned, what comes into your mind? What do you understand by the term diplomacy? Just probably by Oxford definition, or a general definition, or a general knowledge of what you know? Just what you know. I mean, maybe it's something from you, what you feel it is. Then, if diplomacy is what you feel or what is being defined to be, is diplomacy really working? If diplomacy is really working, then to what extent does it work? How is diplomacy in the 21st century? You know, this is 21st century and a lot of things has changed. The way diplomacy operated in the past centuries is not the same way it's been operated in the 21st century. So how is diplomacy in the 21st century? And what do you think should be done to improve diplomacy? How does diplomacy affect us as an individual and as a nation? Has diplomacy really achieved its main purpose of what it was meant for? So these are the things we are going to consider, and that will be done one after the other. So as according to the Oxford Dictionary, I got to know that Oxford said that diplomacy is the profession, activity or skill of managing international relations, typically by countries' representation abroad. Yeah, that's actually true. And that is one part of diplomacy. That definition, so to say, did not give you the totality of what diplomacy is all about. So if that definition do not give the totality of what diplomacy is all about in the world of international relations, so what exactly it is? But before we know that, we also have to look at the general sense of diplomacy. What is the general view of diplomacy by different people, by different scholars, by different viewers, or by different fields of discipline? So we only look at the general sense. This general sense covers the general knowledge of people talking about diplomacy, of people defining diplomacy. So diplomacy, the general knowledge, is said to be the art of dealing with people in sensitive and tactful way. There is a point there, and the point is sensitive and tactful way, and another from the representation or managing international relations, typically by the country's representative abroad. There is another way to deal with people in a sensitive and tactful way. One, then the managing of international relations or relationship typically by the country's representative abroad. So that is the second one. The general sense talks about the art of dealing with people in a sensitive and tactful way. Yes, we're going to pause here. Sensitive and tactful way. So that means there is a particular way that you can deal. Diplomacy does not you dealing with people, but you deal with them in a sensitive way. You deal with them in a sensitive and tactful, using your, I don't know how to put it, using your best of knowledge, your IQ, your reasoning to deal with this person or to deal with this country, your ability to negotiate, to convince, to bring about peace. And this is done by representation. Just like Oxford defined, it is done by representation. So guys, I'm going to look at it next video. We're going to know the function and the governmental view of diplomacy, the governmental definition of diplomacy, and in the world of diplomacy, even other views